So today we're going to be talking about which method is best when we're solving systems of equations. Okay, we've already learned three methods. Okay, we've learned how to solve by graphing. Okay, where we graph the two lines and then find where they intersect. Okay, we've learned how to solve by substitution. Okay, where we end up taking one of our equations and plugging it into the other one. And the last method we learned was elimination, where we want same but opposite coefficients, and we end up eliminating one of our variables and solving, and then plugging it back in to find the other one. Okay. So when is it best to use graphing? When is it best to use substitution? And when is it best to use elimination? Okay. The best time to use graphing, okay, is when the equations are in slope-intercept form. Okay? That's when it's best to use graphing. However, there are times when our graphs are unclear, right? Or we end up getting a fraction and we can't see exactly what that point is. So really, graphing only helps us to estimate solutions, right? Because sometimes, mostly in the real world, things aren't always nice numbers where it's an exact point, right? And so graphing might not help us if the solution is a fraction, and so it can only help us to estimate solutions. When is it best to use substitution? Okay, it's best to use substitution if one of the variables in one of the equations has a coefficient of 1 or -1. Because then it'll be easy to solve for that variable, and we won't have any fractions when we have that equation. Okay. Sometimes it is easy to do this, okay, by dividing one of the equations by a constant, right? So if we saw something like 2x plus 2y equals 4, right? So if we had a question maybe like this, right? Then it might be very easy to do substitution, because all we have to do is divide by 2, and it nicely divides into all of our numbers here, right? So in those cases, it might be great to use substitution as well. Okay? And then it's also great to use substitution if one of the equations is in the form y equals or x equals, right? Because then it's already solved for us. We just need to plug it into the other equation. Okay? So when is it best to use elimination? Okay, it's best to use elimination, okay, when one of the variables already has same or opposite coefficients, and when it is not easy to use graphing or substitution, or in my opinion, it's great when both equations are in standard form. Right? If both of them are in standard form, it's nice and easy. All we have to do is multiply it, okay, and then we're good to go. Okay. So here we have several different systems. Okay, we're going to determine the best method, whether it's substitution, elimination, or both, and we're going to justify, we're going to explain why we would use that method. Okay, we're not going to solve for the system this time. We're just seeing which method is best. Okay. So here we have 2x plus 3y equals -11 for our first equation, and -8x minus 5y equals -9. Okay. So for me, right, I think the best method between substitution or elimination, it's probably best, to use elimination. Okay? And the reason why it's best to use elimination is because both of them are in standard form. Right? And what I mean by that is both of them follow the pattern ax, where a is our coefficient, in this case 2 and -8, okay, plus by, right? In this case, 3 and -5 equals our constant, where we just have a number, right? So because both of these are in standard form, right, I would use elimination. Okay? So here we have B. Okay, our first equation is 3x plus 4y equals 11. Okay, and we also have 2x plus y equals negative 1. Okay, which one would we probably use? Okay, for me, you guys already know I really like elimination. For me, it's the fastest. It might not be for you. Okay, so to me, seeing both of these equations, I think both methods are great. Okay, so whichever one you prefer, I think either one is fine. Okay, so I think elimination is great. Okay, because both of them are in standard form. Right, so again, it follows the pattern of ax plus by equals c, so that's why I like elimination. Right, and super easy since this one's 4y, all I have to do is multiply this whole thing by negative 4 to get that negative 4y. Okay, or substitution is also great. Okay, because, right, y already has a variable, has a coefficient of 1. In the second equation. Right. So here in that second equation, we already have 1y. To do substitution, right, super easy. All we have to do is subtract 2x, and then we can plug it in and solve, right? So that's a reason substitution is great, because we already have a coefficient of 1 in the second equation. For C, okay, we have 3x minus 4y equals negative 5, and we have negative 3x plus 2y equals 3. Okay, so which method is best? In this case, I think elimination is best based on what I have here. And the reason why is because, first, again, both are already in standard form. And because I already have opposite coefficients for x. Okay. Right. So if we look here, right, so I said elimination, we already said both are in standard form, and here we have opposite coefficients for x. We see that, right, for the first equation I have 3x. The second equation, I have negative 3x. So using elimination, when we add those two equations together, our x ends up being 0x, so there's no more x's, and then it's easy to solve for y here. Okay, I'm going to have you do D here. Okay, we have y equals negative 2x plus 5, 3x plus 5y equals 7. Which one is the best method to use? Okay, so write your answer, explain why, okay, and then come back and check. Okay. For this system, I think substitution is the best because our first equation is already in the form y equals, right? It's already y equals negative 2x plus 5. Super easy. All I have to do is replace or substitute this y with negative 2x plus 5, and then I can solve, plug it back and get the other one. Okay. So now I'm going to have you try E. Okay, we have x minus 7y equals 11 and negative x minus 5y equals 8. Which method would you use? Explain why and come check your answer. Okay, so for me, based on this system, I would use elimination. Okay, you guys know I like elimination best. I think it's very easy just to multiply things and stuff like that and add versus having to move them around. Okay, so I would choose elimination because both are in standard form, right? Ax plus by equals c. And especially because here I have opposite coefficients for x. The first equation I have 1x. And the second equation I have negative x or negative 1x, right? Super easy, add, it goes away, and then all I have are the y's and my constant, and I can solve it, right? If you really like substitution, substitution's also great with this because we have that 1x, super easy. We can just move that negative 7y over by adding it, okay, and then plugging it in. So substitution does work, but for me, elimination would be a lot faster. Okay. So that's it for today. Make sure to answer the questions on Nearpod. Okay, and that's it. All we did was talk about which method is best based on the equations we were given. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.